Rangers Journal Night.
Hello everybody and welcome to Ones to Watch, which is a show that's presented on Heart and Hand. This episode is going to be on the Heart and Hand platform and the Rangers Journal platform, so if you're listening on Heart and Hand, please head on over to the Rangers Journal and like and subscribe. Today we're going to speak about, on this episode of Ones to Watch, managers to keep an eye out for that are making waves within the footballing world and could be potential managerial candidates for Rangers. But first I've managed to trail the boys out for the Koppen report in at the Rangers Journal to make their debuts. So Josh, I'll come to you first. How are you, mate?
Hiya, how you doing? I'm not bad. Getting there. Excited to be on.
Good stuff, mate. Good stuff. And Xander, how are you, pal?
I'm not bad, just plugging away, man.
Good stuff. Right, so the first gentleman that we're going to speak about, and I think he's became a bit of a Rangers Journal candidate for the Rangers job should it come up, and it's Wilfred Nancy, who is currently managing Columbus Crew in America. Josh, I'll come to you first. What do you know about Wilfred Nancy and his tactical system?
Well, Nancy's a really interesting one for me. He's the kind of type of modern coach. He didn't play the game at a very high level. I mean, I think it was lower league stuff in France. Moved over to Canada to play over there in the Canadian League. Got his break in coaching with Montreal's academy. Started with their under-16s, I believe. Moved up the ranks. Became Montreal's assistant to Thierry Henry. Henry resigned, I think, in 2022. My dates might be a bit off here. He took over an absolute bin fire. The squad was terrible. They weren't fancied. They were a kind of relatively new addition into the MLS anyway. They used to be called Montreal Impact. I think it was Thierry Henry that kind of gave them a bit of a facelift, but he tamed them on. He actually tamed them to the record points tally as a franchise.
Okay.
It's the 3-4-3. He'll sometimes go 3-4-1-2, but he likes the wing backs really high, bombing on. The two in the middle of the four, they'll form a box with the two playing off the striker. So he likes that box midfield. So what Arteta does at Arsenal, think of that. He likes that in the middle of his pitch. But we have focal point up front. It was the fella that was at Watford, Hernandez, that was leading the line a lot for the Columbus Crew. But there's also the Canadian international Jason Russell-Rowe. It's a bit more a physical presence. The three at the back, he will actually sometimes put kind of bigger physical fullbacks on either side of a centre-back. So I think Dujon Sterling, he'll put guys like that, so in case they get dragged wide, they're comfortable out there. That's his kind of thinking defensively. Press, he loves the press. He lives off that. The drawback is if you beat his press, he's wide open. But I mean, if you look at the technical ability of the Scottish League, but being too disrespectful, who do you put money on playing through a press, with the exception of the other lot? I don't think there's teams that could handle how much he presses. The MLS has got a bit of stigma about it. We've had some kind of rotten apples fate. I get that, but you can't condemn an entire nation because of a few bad experiences. I've watched the Columbus Crew quite a lot, well into double figures last season, and they don't play like an MLS team for me. That's probably why they're strong for me. Individually, not great. I mean, they're probably sit mid-table, but they're on their day when they start playing. In my opinion, they're the best MLS team. They're actually rated number 1 in the CONCACAF right now, so they're ranked the best team in North America.
That's quite an achievement, actually. He's done quite a decent job. Going by what you guys have told me, I watched a wee bit about him yesterday, and like you said, the only concern now with Tov is that other teams are able to press out, because I think once they press out, there's going to be a bit of an issue. But it is Scottish football. There is levels to Scottish football. Xander, I'll come to you now. What do you know about his achievements, and do you think his style of play could work in Scotland? Because domestically just now is where we need this next appointment to come in and hit. European football for me can get pushed to the side to a certain extent. We need somebody to come in with an identity that can lead us going forward.
Well, I agree with you in the fact that European football can take a back seat and he can certainly win trophies. He's shown that by winning the MLS, and he's got to multiple finals as well. Most recently the CONCACAF Champions League, got to the final of that. Admittedly got beat, But getting to the final of that sort of competition with the level of teams in there's second to none.
Aye, definitely. Do you think his style of play would work in Scotland?
I can definitely see it, especially with some of the players that we've already got at the club. Obviously, we'd need to adapt in areas, but as Josh said, the likes of John Sterling, him playing that right centre-back role really excites me in there.
Aye, I know where you're coming from. Josh, is Wilfred and Nancy about Rangers need just now? You guys have been quite like, this is who we want a Rangers journal to identify, to say that he's what guy. Is he what Rangers need right now?
I feel like he is. I honestly, I think Muscat's unattainable now. I think Muscat's stock's getting higher and higher, and I think he's going to be like Fioli. If we didn't get him at that point, we're not getting him. And I think the ship sailed. Don't get me wrong, Nancy is a huge gamble. He has never been in a position where he's had to win every game. As much as the crew are good and they're expected to win more than they lose, they're not expected to win every single week. He's never been in that situation. That shouldn't count against him. For me, he has a huge gamble. I think if the players bought into his system, he would do well. He's very good with old pros. Like a lot of folk talk about Tavernier and Balogun and guys like that are maybe the wrong side of 30. He's took two guys, Camacho, a centre half, I think he's about 34, and then Gabi, about the same age as a centre mid. And by their own admission, they've said in interviews, he's got football it is that we never knew we had left in us. The crew play like a family. For me, it's, see whenever there's a 50-50 and it's a bit of handbags, the bench are in it. He can adopt this mentality. You see it in the players speak about it all the time. Like, the fella at Middlesbrough, Morris, he speaks about it. He says he's almost like a father figure to you. He says, you think you have a good game? He'll say, yeah, you were good, but I want this changed, I want that changed. He'll build you up and get a lot out of you. Like I said, huge gamble, but who's no? I mean, we took a guy that on paper had 3 Belgian titles and managed in the Champions League with Monaco, and it didn't work.
Aye,
so, I mean,
aye, definitely.
Titles don't guarantee you anything, and it just means that your style of football worked in a certain country. That, again, is a drawback for Nancy. He's never managed outside of the MLS.
I know, I just look at what that lot done across the city with Ange and the style of football that he brought in and totally dominated Scottish football for a period of time. Leading on to, talking about Big Angel, leading on to Kevin Muscat now. Xander, what's your thoughts on Kevin Muscat and his system and his style of play?
He's been my guy pretty much for the day Gio left the football club. For the day Gio left, that was the guy I wanted in the door. Just because the across the city stuff with Ange and the Japanese league, and there's talents there that we're not exploring. Could he have went and unlocked that market? Probably. That sort of, it's a high press, the willingness to want the ball to score goals, and it's very particular that the players need to buy in though. Players don't buy in, it just doesn't work.
Aye, definitely. Josh, see in terms of Muscat's achievements, he's done it China now, he's done it in Japan. Does he come in here with a flawless CV?
Yeah, yes and no. If you look at the squads he's had, I mean, I don't buy into this kind of myth that's been perpetuated that Clermont's got a bad team. I think there is a good team there. One thing I'd say about it is this is probably one of the slowest Rangers teams I've seen. I'm 30, and it's probably one of the slowest Rangers teams I've seen in a while. Muscat style of football, you need legs, and not just stamina. You need speed. Speed kills. That's his thinking, and I don't know if we've got the squad to play it. So if he comes to the board and says, "I can do this, but I'm going to need X, Y, and Z," I don't know if he's going to get it, because we're not going down the route of managers picking players again. It's obviously Niels Koppen and the recruitment team. Now, obviously, he could probably tip 2-3 boys for the Asian market. But I mean, if you look at what Craig Moore said, I think it was in Go Radio a few days back, maybe the other week there, he had tipped Dyson Maida to Rangers before he went to Celtic. and the club had alluded that because Celtic were kind of looking there, they didn't want to be seen to be doing the same thing. Bonkers to me, because in my opinion, for the boys that are in the Koppen chat will know, I'm really into my Japanese football. In my opinion, they are the emerging force in world football now. The Japanese FA, as a pledge, said they would win a World Cup by 2050. They're well on their way to that, if you ask me. Some of the best players in the world right now are starting to creep into some of the best teams in the world right now are starting to get Japanese players, because the whole idea of Japanese football is based on work rate. It's right, okay, we might not have the talent to beat you, but we'll work you off the pitch. That's Muscat. That's Kevin Muscat.
Aye.
Does that translate over here? Especially when, for me, there's a few players in that team. Bajrami, he's not doing that.
Hide and seek champion.
Aye. I mean, there would be guys that do it. Connor Barron, Nico Raskin, for me. Mo Diamandi could play it. But when you've got wingers with no pace, well, it's actually 10s we've got playing out there, with the exception of Cherny.
I was going to say, have we even got wingers?
I know. It's, for me, Muscat was my first pick. See, when Beale left, I fancied Muscat. I wasn't against Clement. You look at Clement on paper, and that's a calibre manager that's in Rangers right now. But it's not working. And your CV doesn't guarantee anything. I don't think, for what happened on Sunday and what you're reading and what you're hearing from guys in the press conference, I don't think he's grasping how big Sunday was, which is worrying.
Aye, definitely, Josh. Johnny McFarlane said on Rangers Review yesterday that he's a good manager. It's just his style of play doesn't work in the league.
Aye, two things can be true. It would not shock me if he went to Belgium or Holland and won a title again. Would not shock me.
Aye, you could see it coming. Brings me on to my next question, Xander. See Kevin Muscat's style of play, right? Would there be much needing to change? See, when you look across, Josh has just identified some pacey players like Connor Barron, Nico Raskin, you've got Jeff Day, you've got wee Ross McCausland. Like, could Muscat come in and breathe a new bit of life into these players? What I'm asking is the team set up for him? Would you need another rebuild as such if Muscat was to come in your opinion?
I don't need a full scale rebuild, but you certainly need a lot of bodies out and a couple of bodies in. You'd certainly need your Baramis, your Proppers, probably your Balligans, your Taverniers out to bring in some more pace. You'd actually probably need a new keeper, because I don't rate Jack Butland at playing out, and that's one thing that Muscat likes, is a keeper to play.
Aye, definitely. So what you thinking then? Maybe a new goalkeeper, a couple of wingers. Where else do you think what the park we would need? Where would you want to see us surgically improve the team if Muscat was to come?
I'd like to see wingers on both sides. You could probably put Diamandi in the 10, he'll do the job. A new right back, couple of centre backs, keeper, and maybe a striker option with some pace, because Igaman, I don't think he's particularly fast. Danilo isn't particularly fast, and Dessers is Dessers.
Aye, I know. Aye, you've got it in mind. So, what's the verdict across us all? And I would be for Muscat if the job was to get offered to him. Josh, what about you?
If the job was to offer to him, I'd have him the Mora. The ball's in his court now, though. He holds the cards. It's not like last time, where he was kind of less known. He's getting more and more known. I did hear that the Chinese owners at Wolves like him.
I seen the other day Feyenoord were looking in.
There's some big boys looking at the Asian market now, because it's the emerging market. I've said for a while I think we're going to miss the bus on it.
Yep.
I'd have Muscat if we could. Yeah, personally, I don't think we get him.
Xander, what about you, mate?
I'm in agreement with Josh there. I think if we're going to get him, we need to play the cards properly, but it's his pick. I think he's got to pick a teams, never mind pick of other clubs. Could pick us, he could go elsewhere. He would be just as successful, I think.
One thing I would say about Muscat is I think a lot of folk, if they think they're getting Muscat the player, in terms of how he manages, he's not like that.
No.
Craig Moore said that before. He's very, very calm. He rarely shouts. It's no like Muscat, like the famous Who Butted You Kenny story It's not like that. He's polar opposite now. So if you think he's going to come in and boot the door off the hinges, you're not getting that.
I think he could if he wanted to, but I don't think he
I
would.
think he could if he wanted to.
Aye, that's fair, lads, that's fair. Moving on to the next guy is Henrik Rydström. Sorry if I've butchered that name there. Josh, I'll come to you on him. Tell me a wee bit about him.
Right, Henrik Rydström, holding midfielder to trade. I think I might be wrong here, but I think he played his entire career at Kalmar. Holds the record for most appearances. I think it's over 800 or something. Went into coaching. Again at Kalmar, came up through, became their caretaker. They went for somebody else. He went to Cyrus in Sweden. Again, if that's a mispronunciation, I do apologise to any Swedish listeners. He then comes back to Kalmar, does well, relatively, but it was enough for Malmo to take him on. Malmo are the top dogs in Sweden, undisputed. They take him on. They just lost the title to Häcken, and it was a bit of a shock. I think he went into the job in 2022. Fast forward to now, he's got 2 Swedish titles on the spin and a Swedish Cup. He talks about what he used to think in his coaching. He says he used to go the kind of Pep Guardiola positional passing, and then he said he was kind of watching a bit more. It was he talks about a manager called Fernando Diniz, South America. Guys won the
Fluminense in Brazil.
Yeah, that's the one. He won the Copa Liberatos with them, and it's I forget the Portuguese for it, but it translates to tables and ladders. And he says the idea is you want to be compact in defence, but what if you could stay compact in attack? And when you're under pressure, don't just play out the pressure, play through it. That's the thinking. Little tiny movements, little manipulations, that type of idea. And it's worked in Sweden. He absolutely annihilates. I think they won the league very, very early last season. I'd have to be fact checked on that. It's either the season there or the season prior. They absolutely ran away with it. I mean, Europe, they will relatively hold their own, but again, I'm at the stage where I'm actually Europe's it's a night out. It's you get to maybe play a big team, see a good performance, but see, Glasgow Rangers is about winning the title. End of.
Fair enough. Xander, what do you know about him? What's his tactical philosophy?
Well, he certainly likes a 4-2-3-1. I can tell you that. But he does seem to press in this 4-4-2 type that you're seeing very often, but it's no your Clement 4-4-2 where it's deep, and as soon as the first line's beat, we're away. It's higher, the fullback jumps, the winger wants to be closer to the opposition fullback. But there's one thing I don't like about it. Clement's managed to beat him. That really irks me, is Clement's been tragic and he's managed to beat this guy. Admittedly in Europe where we are better, but he still managed to go and beat a guy that we're looking at as if, oh, he could be good. Is that a problem? Who knows?
I'd echo that. I think with the managers we're putting forward, the common theme is you're probably going to have to sacrifice Europe, which I think actually most Rangers fans would be okay with the way things are now. Rydström, I'm paraphrasing, but he done an interview with Sky Sports where he says, I was sick of safe when I was watching and coaching football. So his idea, he says he'll not mind if he loses possession if something's trying to be happening with it. If his player's trying something and loses it, he's okay with that, as long as they retrieve the ball fast. I don't know how they measured that, but in his first season at Malmo, they the most aggressive press in the league, and they were second for most tackles.
It's an interesting one. I know where you're coming from in terms of Clement's got one over on him and all that kind of stuff, but Clement's also took Rangers to Nice and beat Nice 4-0 away from him. Rangers on the mug in Europe, and for what I like, how I measure Rangers in Europe now is we should be beating Malmo, and just because they beat us in previous occasions under Gerrard and McCoist, we should have been beating them back in due to budgets and stuff. So I don't judge them purely on because Clement's managed to get one over on him, because Clermont's
Aye.
got some decent results in Europe this season.
I mean, don't get me wrong when I say this. I mean, getting to the last 8 of the top 8 of the Europa League, some achievement, right? Or the 16 or whatever we get into. But I mean, Andy Hardy said it in the Clyde phone, and Rangers have been good in Europe for a while. Like, you can't put all this good in Europe down to Clermont. Giovanni got us to a European final. Like, you can't, as much as it is an achievement, I'll take nothing away from Clermont there. It's no all him. Like, for some reason, I mean, we joke about it, Rangers Thursday nights. For some reason, we do the business in Europe. The one thing I would say about Rystrom is, again, you don't know how true it is. There's a reputation of arrogance there. You kind of seen it when he came over to players. You kind of seen it in his press conferences. Personally, I don't mind it because he's backing it up. And domestic form-wise, maybe not in Europe, but domestically he's backing it up. So he's probably got every right to be arrogant in that sense. But it didn't come off well when we thumped him.
I think the thing with Rangers in Europe is teams are more open against us. We've got more space to play in than trying to beat a low block every single week.
This is it. I mean, whoever's the Niels Koppen, Patrick Stewart, whoever's making this decision, this is huge. This has to be correct, and it has to be somebody that knows how to break down a low block.
Aye.
Because if it's another European type safe side to side horseshoe, it's not going to work.
No, definitely not. I don't know. For me, we had I don't know if any of you play FIFA, but we had Scotty on from. He's a ex-FIFA coach and he's played pro and all that on Ultimate Team. We had him on when we played Malmo for an interview, and he was saying the way that Rystrom likes his players to play very close together and then kind of branch out quickly into space. It's an intriguing one for me. I wouldn't say aye, I wouldn't say not to him.
He used a very clever analogy. He says, how I play football is if you imagine, see the kind of show tricks, like you put the ball under a cup and there's 3 cups and you move it about. That's how he describes how he attacks, where you think you can see the ball, but he says there's so many movements going on. Mm-hmm. That's how he described it.
That's quite interesting, actually. Xander, what about you? What's your final thoughts on Rystrom, mate?
I certainly wouldn't be against it, but I certainly would have questions if he come in, just because there is that lingering doubt of beating him before, and a certain bit of arrogance that you're saying comes through. And I'm looking at a map here of positional stuff. He likes his team to focus on one side of the pitch and then move over to the other side of the pitch. It's really weird, because what I'm looking at here is he's got his practically whole team on the right hand side. He's got about 6 or 7 players just funneled into this one side of the pitch.
Right, so it's like an overlap kind of thing.
It's like overloading the one side and you've got 2 or 3 players on the other side.
It's interesting. There's been no links on nothing. It's like I say, this is just an episode I want to watch, so we're just kind of highlighting. The next guy does sum up the name of the title. It's Ones to Watch, and he came in and he had a very interesting start to his coaching career. He's coached at clubs like Newcastle, Valencia, got a manager's job at Hearts, made a bit of an arse sell, I'm not going to lie. He's now back in Portugal, building his reputation back up, and he's just won the Portuguese Manager of the Month now. For all listeners, please, I know you're shaking your heads at me just now, but this is purely to keep an eye on for future reference. We're not going to speak about him in relation to the Rangers job. This is just purely giving you a wee update on him. Xander, what do you know on Ian Cathro?
Ian Cathro seems to set up in quite a similar system to what Nancy sets up, with the 3 at the back, the 4 in the midfield and the 3 in the attack. And I mean, I think we can all say his spell at Hearts was nothing but terrible. He just didn't seem to have a clue what was going on half the time. But he seems to have built himself up in Portugal. He's unbeaten since getting beat 3-0 by Benfica in December. Admittedly, no played anybody massive, but you got to beat who's in front of you, really. And he's managed to do that. Admittedly, pretty much all tight wins, and there's been a draw in there as well. But win games, you win games, and he's got the achievement of the Manager of the Month award.
As I say, it's an interesting one because he's over and he is kind of. But I think he went back to being an assistant manager again, and now he got a managerial job. Josh, what's your thinking on Cathro? Has he impressed you with his resurgence?
Castro, sorry. It's interesting. You look back at his time at Hearts, and obviously the results weren't great, but I think he kind of get almost like mocked quite a lot, like, you know, with the iPad on the bench and all that. You look at what teams are doing now; they're all doing that. I think there's a kind of attitude in the Scottish media because it's different. It's somehow funny and no right, and almost like, you know, that funny foreigner that they kind of stick with the media. He kind of got that to a degree, even though he's Scottish. But my worry, the game's loaded with coaches that have tried to step up and no cut it. Michael Beale being one.
Mm-hmm.
But he's doing it in Portugal. Like, taking that away from the guy, he seems to be doing it.
Aye.
Is he a coach that is better with the smaller teams? There's a big difference being a coach, you know, a kind of relegation battle in lower half of the table, playing the counter, nicking results, than there is a team, right, we need to dominate the ball, we need to dominate the opposition. Big difference. So that would be his gamble.
I'm just looking at stuff about him now, and it's saying it's Estoril he's managing, and he's guided them to their best top flight winning run in 76 year.
Aye, sitting 8th in the table, so he's pretty much on a European push if you think about it.
Aye, definitely. He's not done too bad.
You don't work at the clubs he's worked at without having something about you. You don't get the jobs.
Aye. And literally, we're just talking about him in a ones-to-watch sense, so
Aye.
linked. We're not saying he should take a Rangers job, listeners. We're just basically saying that this could be one to watch for the future. The guy could be on an interesting journey now. The next guy that we're going to speak about, I'm pretty much going to hand over to Josh and Xander here. It's Marek Paulsen.
Aye.
Right, Josh?
Popperson, I think. I'm sure there might be some polls listening that could correct us.
Aye.
Tell me a bit about him, Josh.
Right, Marek Popson. This is another member of the Koppen report who shall remain nameless. He's top choice. Again, modern coach, hasn't played the game at a professional level. I believe he was a school teacher. Took Rakow when they were nothing, got promoted, won the league, took them into the Champions League, got his team ram-raided, re-signs players, goes again. Like, again, 3-4-3, he's builds his title-winning team off of strong foundations. It's all about being strong defensively and then overloading the attacking areas. He likes the two wingers to cut in and dominate. For me, Poland's a bit of a sleeping giant in European football. There is huge clubs in that country, and they have got fanatical support, and they do not take losing games well. The Polish fans, I mean, they're renowned, the Polish fans, and so he is used to pressure, especially with Rakow. Now they've had a taste of it, that's all they want, and he delivers. He is very, very good. He's one of the guys you get the feeling the players would run through a brick wall for him.
Right.
So you can give him that. Again, he's never done it outside Poland. I don't think he's ever. I think he took a step back for Rakow. Again, I'd have to fact checked here. I think he took a step back for Rakow for a season. Took a step away from the game and then went back in and just picked up where he went up. So he's never actually managed in the professional terms away from Rakow.
You're right. He left.
Mm.
He was appointed. First appointment was 18th of April 2016. Then he left on 22nd of June and returned on the 24th of July 2024. So he left in 2023 and returned in 2024.
A big thing I would put in the tick column is apparently he was on the shortlist, and I think he might even been the last couple of names for the Brighton job, and they don't get much wrong recruitment wise. So they're
I've
seeing
seen that
something.
getting floated about.
Wait, Xander, what's his system like? What tactics does he employ?
For what I'm reading here, and it's very counter press heavy. He wants to be high up the pitch and play forward, but he does want to also be that defensively solid at the back. Because
Right.
if I just read here, passes allowed per defensive action, 8, which is the 4th highest in the Polish league. That's when you actually realise it's massive. He's not allowing the passes when he's pressing. He's almost like a Jurgen Klopp, but with his own spin on it, the defensive work as well. Because he does want to get high, he does, but he can also drop low into a block if he needs to. And he can go long, he can go short, he can go wide, inside. He's got everything really.
Right, okay.
He will chuck.
That's
He will
interesting.
chuck 17, 18-year-olds on as well. Without even thinking twice about it.
Aye.
Which is something
You-
I think Rangers have been screaming it for.
I mean, when Clement hooked Bailey Rice at the weekend, I was just sitting there thinking, why? He's, 17, 18-year-old and getting his chance and just gets hooked. You've got to give him the full 90 minutes to prove himself.
I mean, I agree. I don't think Bailey Rice was great, but who was in a Rangers jersey that first 45
No.
minutes?
I know, definitely. So he's a progressive coach. He's definitely one to watch. He was been linked to a Brighton job. He likes to give youth a try. Josh, what's your thoughts? Would you take him as a potential Rangers manager in the future?
Absolutely. I think he instills a wee bit of passion into his sides, a wee bit of fight, wee bit of fire in the belly. Because I've said for a while, we're too nice. We're a nice
Aye.
team. All the best teams, think about all the title winning Rangers teams in your head. There's always been one or two players in there that were nasty, horrible, explicit word on the pitch.
Mhm.
We don't have who physically intimidates you in that Rangers team.
Aye, definitely.
If
Xander,
you
what
want to
about you,
clutch
mate?
at straws, you probably say John Sutter. If you're clutching,
I think he'd give us a bit of fight. He'd get us well organised and
aye.
defensively solid. That's for sure. And when you can get that, then you think about attacking. I mean, if you can't keep the goals out, it's immaterial what you're doing up there end of the pitch.
Aye, definitely. Next one we're talking about is Mike Hellberg. If I'm right, I'm assuming this is our Swedish manager, Josh.
Kim Hellberg.
Kim Hellberg, my apologies.
Kim Hellberg's an interesting one for me. He's very, very young. Again, I don't believe he's played the game at a professional level. He started coaching at his dad's club before he got his break. Again, I think he's similar to Fiola. If we don't get this guy very soon, we won't get him. There is talk of Bundesliga teams keeping an eye on him. Scandinavian football's coming out with some great young players, but coming out with some great young managers as well. He's interesting as well because you can't really nail down his formation. He's kind of horses for courses. He'll change it up depending on who he's playing. I like that. Well, a lot of managers now are kind of married to this philosophy. They've got their way of playing. Mont's a perfect example. They've got their way of playing, and it's hella high water. That's what we're doing. Hellberg's not like that. Hellberger tweak it, sorry. Which I like. But again, the way football's going, it's you press for the front, you win the ball back in advanced position, and you capitalise in the transition. That's his thinking. But I think where the tweaking it's came from is because he's not at the strongest club now in Sweden. So he's having to adapt, he's having to improvise. So I mean, I'd urge folk to go and just even read up on the guy, just to have a look. He's really interesting in what he's doing as a manager and where he's came from and where folk think he's going. Very, very good tactically. The fact you can put across different ideas and different systems depending on the game to your players, and for them to pick it up and carry it takes some doing.
Aye, definitely, mate. Definitely. Xander, what do you know about him?
Well, when he first got up to the Swedish First Division, he managed to finish 10th with the lowest budget. So he certainly got a way of working with no money, which I think doesn't go against us saying that we have got no money. So he certainly got that on his side. I think he actually put him down as probably one of the most exciting teams to watch if you're looking for that kind of weird team on the side to go and look into. He does seem to play a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3 type shape that we're used to for the past donkeys. Really, we've been used to it since I can remember, really. But he wants to be high. He seems to build up in a 3-2 type. And then he's got a 3 in front of him with a 1 just offset. But it's 2 number 10s again, which we've seen a bit under Gerrard towards the later stages. Would it work? It needs legs. We've not got legs in the 10 out wide. Even at the back, you could argue we've not got the legs with Robin Proper. It's one that I think would need another rebuild in there.
Fair enough. What about you,
I think we're talking about styles of play and philosophies and how different managers do things. For me, I look at it at a different angle, slightly for Xander. I think he's the least of the gamble in terms of that because of how adaptable he is. I think he's more likely to come into Rangers and go, right, like, what have I got to work with now? And let's go with that. And then we'll think about it down the line. We'll just get going and we'll start winning games. I mean, I seen the other day this season before the other week there, that was the first time we'd won 5 games in a row. That's criminal. That's criminal.
Aye, definitely. So, Kim Hellberg, is that a yes or no for you, Josh?
Hellberg, yes, I'd take him because I think what a day I'd get him in now though. I was kind of edging towards, for the other names, I'd probably go with a caretaker and then bring them in the summer with Hellberg and bring him in the now because of how young he is, just to get him going and to see what he's working with.
Fair enough. Xander, what about you, mate?
I'd certainly take him, and I agree with Josh. He's the only one I'd say get in there now. The rest of them I'd be putting the Moroccan guy in charge and going, you can wait, but this is one we need in the now if we're getting it.
Fair enough. Sounds as if there's going to be a lot of demand about him.
You look at guys like I said earlier, Fioli, where we said, he's one for the future, allegedly, and went for Beale, even though Fioli had managed more games than Beale in his career at that point. If you don't, when these guys come along, the days are gone and getting a Dick Advocaat are over for Rangers. If we don't get these guys when they're young, we don't get them. Because when they start entering the realms of the top 5 leagues, we get a chance of getting these guys.
Aye, it's like to disappear into a black hole, isn't it?
Aye.
Right, last guy we're going to speak about is Gary O'Neill. Just finished up managing Wolves, sacked earlier on in the season, replaced by Victor Pereira, who was also linked to a Rangers job at some point. Josh, what's your thoughts on Gary O'Neill?
Well, Gary O'Neill gets a lot of bad press and kind of get a lot of eye rolls. For me, I think he's good. I like him. You look at Bournemouth, the job he done. He's moved to Wolves. Wolves, I think, as a club are a mess. I think there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes there with agents and ownership. Yeah, he probably should have done better with the squad he's got. This is going to sound stupid because it's a Premier League club, but in terms of the Premier League, he wasn't given a great deal of money. But, I mean, a few months back, 442 were running a piece on this guy and how he's one of the most exciting managers in the Premier League. Like, the guy's got something about him. It's whether he's going to be sitting on the kind of managerial carousel down there and waiting in a job. But he might view Rangers as a chance to rebuild. A couple of years, rebuild his reputation. I think he would do a job at Rangers, I really do.
Xander, what about you? Closing thoughts on Gary O'Neill?
I don't mind him, but it's certainly going to be first or second choice, really. And his 4-4-2 that he used at Bournemouth really excited me because he had the big man, but he also had another big man beside him. Something you don't see often in modern football is two big lumps, but they could play. Because Dom Solanke, we all know can play. And they actually seem to put midfielders up there quite a lot to partner Solanke. But it's not as if the midfielder would drop. He would sit with him and play. So it's really, it's weird how modern football has gone back to the way it was 10, 15 years ago with coming in with the two strikers again. Alright, impressing form, but it's there, it's coming through again.
Just to touch on what Xander said there, I can agree with he's talking about the big men. If you look at the Euros there, what did you notice? Teams were bringing back the target man. Poland played Buska, Holland were playing Weghorst. The target man's making a comeback. Folk are starting to reintroduce it. I mean, it's maybe a different type. It's maybe a target man that can move. But I hate using this expression like gets it. But out of the names we've just listed there, Gary O'Neill's probably the closest to it because he's British. And he might know intimately Rangers, but he will be fully aware of them being in British football as long as he has.
Yep.
Know that Rangers haven't got the reach that we have, like we're a worldwide club, but just in terms of he will probably understand it quicker than the other names we've listed there. Look, it wouldn't be my first choice, no, but if somebody says, look, Gary O'Neill's coming in the summer, I wouldn't be against it. I'd be like, right, let's give the guy a chance.
Aye, definitely, lads, definitely. Well, that'll wrap it up. Thank you for joining me, Josh.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Xander, no problem, mate. Xander, thank you for joining me, mate.
No problem, Scotty, man.
Right, so remember, if you're listening to us in Heart and Hand, please head on over to the Rangers Journal. The link's on the description on YouTube, and subscribe to the page. We've got loads of free content out, and we'll be back. I think me, Cammy, Billy, and Tomo and Ross will be back after the Kilmarnock game. I think we'll be looking at defenders for that episode, so stay tuned for that. And apart from that, take care. Cheers.